The morning rush at the downtown cafe was chaos, the kind that made even the most seasoned baristas feel like they were balancing on a tightrope. Steam hissed from the espresso machines. Customers barked their orders while glancing nervously at their watches, and the line snaked all the way out the door. Among the flurry of cups, spilled creamers, and impatient sighs, a young woman named Anna stood behind the counter, her hands moving faster than her thoughts could catch up. Her apron was stained, her hair tied back in a messy knot, and the exhaustion in her eyes made her look older than she really was. She barely noticed when a man in a tailored suit stepped to the counter. His voice was calm, low, but authoritative as he gave his order. Black coffee, double shot of espresso, no sugar, no cream. It was an order she had heard before, precise and unwavering, like someone who didn't believe in mistakes. But Anna, juggling 3 drinks in one hand and scribbling notes for another customer with the other, barely looked up. She nodded quickly, distracted by the growing complaints in line, and moved on. By the time she got to his cup, her mind was elsewhere. Rent was due in 2 days. Her younger brother's school fees were unpaid. Her mother had called that morning with a reminder about the hospital bill from her father's treatment, a bill they had no idea how to cover. She was sinking, and this cafe job was the only rope keeping her from drowning. Her hands shook as she poured the coffee, and without thinking, she filled it the way most customers liked it: cream, sugar, and a drizzle of caramel. She didn't realize her mistake until the man took the cup, glanced at it, and walked silently away. He didn't complain. He didn't demand a new cup or roll his eyes like so many others did when their orders weren't perfect. Instead, he sat in the corner, sipping slowly, his expression unreadable. But when Anna went to clear the table after he left, she found a folded napkin beneath the cup. On it, in neat, precise handwriting, were the words, "Sometimes life gets heavy. Don't let the weight make you forget your own worth." Before we go deeper into Anna's journey, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the small moments that can change lives, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Acts of Kindness. Your support helps spread more stories of hope to the world. Anna stared at the napkin for a long time, her chest tightening with emotions she couldn't quite name. No one had ever written her something like that before. Customers barely saw her as human, more like a machine behind the counter. And yet, this stranger, this sharply dressed man who clearly belonged to a world far from hers, had noticed her struggle in just a glance. She tucked the note into her apron pocket, not knowing it would be the beginning of a turning point in her life. Days passed, and the man returned, always at the same time, always with the same order: black coffee, double espresso, no sugar, no cream. Anna never got it wrong again. She started to recognize his presence not just by his expensive suits, but by the way he carried himself, confident, unbothered by the rush around him, as though the world bent to make space for him. The staff whispered about him, saying he was the CEO of a major firm just a few blocks away, a man who commanded respect wherever he went. But to Anna, he was the man who had written her a note. One morning, she gathered the courage to thank him. She slipped the napkin from her wallet, where she now kept it like a treasure, and told him quietly, "Your words, they meant more than you know." His eyes softened, and though he didn't say much, he nodded in a way that made her feel like he understood. Weeks turned into months. Every morning, his coffee order became a small ritual that gave Anna something to look forward to. But life outside the cafe only grew harder. Her father's condition worsened, and her family's debts piled up higher than she could climb. Some nights, she skipped meals so her brother wouldn't have to. She began to think of giving up, on her dreams, on the idea that things would ever get better. And then one day, it happened again. The cafe was swamped, and Anna made a mistake, not with his coffee, but with another customer who lashed out at her in front of everyone. She held back tears, but her shaking hands betrayed her. The man in the suit, sitting in his corner, watched silently. When he left, Anna found another note under his cup. This time it said, "Failure doesn't define you. How you rise after it does. Keep rising." Her eyes burned as she read it, and for the first time in months, she felt hope spark inside her. That night, Anna sat with her brother at their kitchen table, the two of them eating instant noodles. She showed him the notes, and he smiled, saying, "Whoever he is, he believes in you. Maybe you should start believing in yourself, too." Something shifted inside Anna after that. She began applying for scholarships for her brother, searching for side jobs online, and even dared to sign up for night classes at the community college. Every day, she carried herself a little straighter, spoke a little louder, and fought a little harder for her future. And every morning, the man came for his coffee, and though they exchanged only a few words, the silent encouragement between them grew stronger. Then one morning, he didn't come, nor the next day, or the day after. Weeks passed, and his absence was like a missing heartbeat in her daily rhythm. Anna worried, but pushed forward, clinging to the lessons his notes had taught her. It wasn't until nearly 2 months later that she saw him again, not in the cafe, but on the news. He was being interviewed as the CEO of one of the most influential companies in the city. The headline spoke of his success, his leadership, his vision. But all Anna saw was the man who had once noticed her when she felt invisible. The next morning, he finally walked into the cafe again. Anna greeted him with a smile brighter than any she had ever managed before. He returned it with the slightest curve of his lips, and when she handed him his coffee, she slipped a napkin into the sleeve. On it, she had written, "Thank you for reminding me I was worth more. Because of you, I'm rising." For the first time, he paused, looked at her deeply, and said softly, "Good. Don't ever stop." Months later, Anna was no longer working at the cafe. She had taken on a better job through a connection she made at her night classes, and her brother had received a partial scholarship. Life wasn't suddenly perfect, but it was moving in the right direction. She still kept those notes, worn from being unfolded so many times, as reminders of the stranger who had seen her when she felt unseen. And one evening, as she walked home past the tall buildings that seemed to scrape the sky, she spotted him again. This time not in a suit, but in casual clothes, sitting alone on a park bench with a book in his hands. She almost didn't approach him, unsure if he even remembered her beyond the cafe counter. But when she did, he smiled, the kind of smile that carried recognition. "Anna," he said, as though her name was not just remembered, but respected. In that moment, she realized something profound. The man's notes had changed her life, yes, but the courage to keep going, the strength to rise, had always been hers. Sometimes, all it takes is one person to light the spark, but it is our own fire that keeps burning. As she walked away that evening, the city lights glowing around her, Anna felt no longer like the girl weighed down by bills and broken dreams. She felt like someone who had risen, and she knew, deep in her heart, that she would never fall the same way again. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to Acts of Kindness. Your engagement helps these stories reach more people who might need the hope and strength they carry. Speech balloon, and before you go, tell us in the comments, has a small act of kindness ever changed your life in a big way?